The factory director docked my year-end bonus by 50,000 because I was 2 minutes late for work. I explained that I worked overtime until dawn to repair the machines. But he just accused me of making excuses, so I stopped arguing. I started slacking off at work, and in less than a month, the factory machines broke down in the middle of the night with no one to fix them. It resulted in a loss of 100 million. On Monday morning, after finishing repairs on night shift machine number 3, looking at the stable data, I finally felt a sense of relief. I dragged myself back to the dormitory late at night. Lying in bed, I thought that once I got through this month and received my bonus, Dad's dialysis fees, and the money for the second baby, and the New Year expenses, things would finally be okay. But when the alarm went off, everything was ruined. I was actually 2 minutes late. I ran frantically toward the factory gate. The time clock ruthlessly displayed 08:02. My heart sank instantly. It's over. I thought I would at most get a lecture from the director. But he prepared a massive blow. Over 100 workers stood crowded in the workshop during the morning meeting. The machines were idle, and the air was thick with the pungent smell of machine oil and cheap laundry detergent. It was suffocating. The director held a stack of papers in his hand. Glancing sideways toward me, he announced, "I have something to announce today. Some people, relying on their years of seniority, have become far too arrogant. Brotherly, I'm looking at you." Li Feng was 2 minutes late for work. According to factory rules, his entire 50,000 yuan year-end bonus is being docked. The entire workshop fell into a deathly silence. My mind went numb from the shock. 50,000 yuan might not mean much to the rich. But to me, this was my father's emergency fund for the quarter, my wife's hospital fees for our second child, and our family's entire hope for the new year. I worked hard all year, but my monthly salary was never enough to cover expenses. I was counting on this money to get us through. The co-workers in the back row gasped. Docking 50,000 for being 2 minutes late? That's too harsh. How are we supposed to celebrate the new year? Exactly. We worked so hard all year just for this money. It's his own fault for being late. Some people in the crowd even looked on with gloating eyes. My throat felt as dry as cotton. I struggled to speak, taking deep breaths. Director, machine number 3 had a sudden alarm yesterday because the circuit burned out. I worked alone to repair it until 3 in the morning. I had just closed my eyes for a moment and missed my alarm, which is why I was 2 minutes late. I didn't even have time to eat breakfast. My stomach was still growling from hunger. The director wouldn't even look at me. He continued flipping through the list in his hands. Overtime is your own problem. Being late is a violation of the rules. The factory rules cannot be broken for you alone. If I hadn't repaired it overnight, machine number 3 wouldn't be running at all. He slammed his hand onto the table. The loud noise made the female workers in the front row shudder. Li Feng, what do you mean by that? You dare talk back even after making a mistake? As an old employee, you should be the one leading by example and following the rules. You're the one leading the way and being late. How can you lead the team in the future? Are the factory rules just for show? His face burned with shame. Having worked in this factory for 5 whole years, he was a group leader, after all. Yet, the manager wouldn't give him any face in front of everyone. The workers in the back couldn't help but mutter quietly. He really did work until midnight yesterday. We on the night shift saw him climb off the machine with our own eyes. Doesn't the factory manager have the final say here? Hearing the murmurs below, the manager flew into a rage and made a harsh threat. Humph. From now on, anyone who dares to plead for him will be fined 50,000 yuan as an example to others. From now on, anyone who is late will be fined according to this standard. After the threat was made, everyone stared at their toes, terrified to even breathe, fearing they would be caught in the crossfire. He clenched his teeth tightly. His palms were drenched in cold sweat. His chest felt heavy, as if a stone were lodged in it. It wasn't that he wanted to deny his mistake, but the injustice was simply too much to swallow. He stared at the factory manager's smug, petty face. In that moment, he realized something clearly. All the hard work and sleepless nights in the past, and even the machines he repaired, meant absolutely nothing. He was nothing more than an emotionless clock-in machine. As long as he failed to clock in on time, he would be taken advantage of. Old Chun nudged me secretly with his elbow. Brotherly, please, try to intercede. I took a deep breath and swallowed the words. This isn't fair, before they could escape my lips. I reached up to straighten my hard hat. The factory director was clearly stunned on the spot. He didn't expect the troublemaker to actually back down. He let out an arrogant snort and dropped the list. Meeting adjourned. The workers scattered instantly like a disturbed anthill. Some deliberately went out of their way to avoid me, as if being near me would bring them bad luck. Others came over to pat my shoulder. Forget it, just accept your bad luck. I walked toward machine number 3 in silence. Without saying a word, my steps felt as heavy as lead. My mind was filled with images from last night. Curled up alone on the cold concrete floor, reaching my arm into the scalding machinery. the back of my hand covered in bright red rashes. I was so thirsty my throat felt like it was burning, yet I didn't even dare to stop for a drink. At that time, everyone in the factory was fast asleep, and I was the only fool afraid of delaying tomorrow's work. I would do anything to fix it overnight. Looking back now, I was truly foolish, standing before that massive machine, reaching out to touch the still warm metal casing. This old partner, from the day it arrived at the factory, was something I mastered through sheer persistence, learning its every quirk from outside engineers. Which bearing would vibrate? I could pinpoint the fault with my eyes closed as soon as the motor started. For all these years, everyone's instinctive reaction was to rush and call the phone, even if they were fast asleep at 2 in the morning. The moment the phone rang, they would scramble to the workshop, without a single word of complaint, just because of a damn 2-minute delay. 50,000 yuan of hard-earned money evaporated instantly, and my family's livelihood for the entire year was severed. That ridiculous sense of dedication in my heart was crushed to pieces by a single heavy footstep. Seeing me standing there like a statue, old Chen leaned in and whispered a question. I shook my head decisively. There's no use trying to reason with them. So, what are you planning to do next? I reattached my name tag to my chest, grabbed a wrench, and decided that from now on, we'll follow the factory rules strictly. Old Chen looked confused, not understanding. We'll show up exactly when the rules say we should. Old Chen froze for 2 seconds. Didn't you used to come in half an hour early every day to check the circuits? That was when I was an idiot. From now on, if anyone wants to be a sucker for free labor, they can do it themselves. At that very moment, a plan was finalized in my mind. I won't cause trouble, won't argue, and definitely won't resign. We'll just follow the written labor contract to the letter. Since the factory insists on treating people like emotionless screws, then I'll just be a useless, broken screw. I'll do exactly as much as I'm required to, and not a single rotation more. As for whether that precious machine number 3 and the entire production line will completely collapse, let the factory director deal with that headache. As soon as the clock-out bell rang, I dropped my tools, sprinted 100 meters to the time clock, and clocked out instantly. Every extra second spent in this factory is a massive waste of my life. The next morning, I raced into the factory grounds, hitting it with only 3 seconds left on the clock. Beep. Watching the green light flash on the time clock. The fool who used to volunteer 30 minutes of unpaid labor every day was dead. Now, I only care about the exact second. Old Chen stared at me from afar. Brotherly, are you completely letting go and preparing to just slack off? The management said we must follow the rules. I am strictly following the factory regulations. After saying that, I intentionally slowed my pace, walking more leisurely than an old man strolling in a park. Just as I strolled to the workshop entrance, I ran into the factory director like I'd seen a ghost. His face was dark as he stared me down. I sneered inwardly. See, this is what happens when you treat honest people like free labor for too long. Before, he would arrive early every day without even a word of thanks. Now, clocking in exactly on time makes it feel like I've broken some sacred law. Oh, you're quite punctual today, aren't you? You're quite punctual today, arriving just on time. I'm just strictly following the factory rules. He was instantly speechless. The arrogance on his face visibly crumbled. From the start of the morning meeting, the director's glares were constantly directed at me, seeing me standing there like a wooden post. Instead of proactively handing over the equipment inspection report like before, his expression grew even worse. As expected, capitalists exploiting the poor are never satisfied. If they can't get an advantage, they feel cheated. Meeting adjourned. Everyone disperse. Get back to your posts and get to work. There was a hidden meaning in his words, clearly testing if I would act like a lapdog and proactively volunteer to work overtime. Instead, I turned and left decisively, without sparing him even a single glance. Old Chen followed behind, desperately stifling a laugh. Brotherly, that confrontation was brilliant. I shrugged indifferently. They really think I'm a free repairman on call 24 hours a day. To be honest, the nameless anger in my chest was still burning. But the more frustrated I feel, the more I must strictly follow the letter of the contract with polite precision. I need to show them. Without me, there would be no one to clear the hazards every day. Is this damn factory ever going to run? Just as I expected, Unit 3 started acting up. The conveyor belt's speed visibly dropped, and the new apprentice instantly panicked. He frantically pressed the control panel, muttering, "It's over, it's over. Why is the alarm going off again? Quick, go get Uncle Lee to save the day." The young man looked back in a panic, pleading for help. Meanwhile, I was leisurely picking through my toolbox for the right wrench. Guangchang stormed out of the office with a dark expression. What's going on? Why has the speed dropped again? At this point, they probably hadn't even found the cause. The factory director nearly exploded upon hearing this. He is the team leader. If he isn't focused, the entire production line suffers. After hearing this, he slammed his wrench onto the table. threw his hands up, and said, "Director, I'm doing exactly what I should be doing during work hours. You're the one forcing me to work early. Are you paying overtime? You didn't used to act like this. Didn't you always come in early to work? That was before. Didn't you say yesterday that the rules are paramount? If I touch the machines before my shift starts, isn't that knowingly breaking the rules?" The surroundings instantly fell deathly silent. Everyone was waiting for the director to fly into a rage. But he couldn't force out a single word for a long time. He could only grit his teeth and order the squad leader to keep staring at the newcomer. In less than 10 minutes, Machine 3 suddenly made a heavy thud. The entire workshop floor shook. The young man nearby was so scared his legs were trembling. Brotherly. It stopped on its own. The director's face turned pale instantly. What does this machine breaking down mean? The entire production line is paralyzed. Output will be cut in half. The director roared at me in a panic. Li Feng, are you trying to make a mockery of me? Get over here and fix it, director. Old Chun was beside me, his shoulders twitching from trying to suppress a laugh. Brotherly, you're going to give him a stroke. The director's face turned green with anger. He forced himself to swallow his rage. Li Feng, please come take a look. Only then did he reluctantly nod. He leaned over and poked his head into the machine. It only took 2 minutes. The belt was loose and had slipped off the pulley. During yesterday's emergency repair, it was reported that a new part was needed. But the higher-ups refused to approve the purchase, and today, under high speed, the hidden danger exploded. He stood up and brushed the grease off his hands. Director, you said yesterday that the part must be replaced. Since you wouldn't approve it, there was nothing I could do. Dozens of eyes in the workshop instantly locked onto the director. Those eyes were clearly saying, "Let's see how you shift the blame this time." The director's face turned bright red. "No matter what, just get it fixed, quickly. If there are no new parts, today's production will be ruined." I didn't waste any words, but I knew exactly what was happening. This broken machine is bound to explode sooner or later. I used to patrol the floor 7 or 8 times a day, just to prevent accidents, only to end up covered in black oil. As I turned to walk out, the factory director, "I'm going to the restroom," I said. The director's eyes widened. "Didn't you just go?" I gave him a cold glance. "When you docked 50,000 from my year-end bonus, didn't you say you were just following the rules? Now, I'm just going to the restroom normally. Are the rules preventing me from taking a crap now?" The director was instantly silenced, unable to utter a single word. All the workers on the production line were stifling their laughter, their faces turning dark red from the effort. I felt incredibly relieved. From this moment on, I was completely enlightened. If there's no humanity and everything is handled coldly by the rules, then so be it. If you won't give me respect, then no one will have it easy. The capitalist picked the wrong person this time. Not a soft target to be manipulated, but a tough professional holding the core technology. This was definitely the biggest mistake he had ever made in his life. After all, the entire production line stops without me. As soon as the clock-out bell rang, I was the first to bolt out of the workshop like an arrow from a bow. "Brotherly, the hazards in this machine haven't been cleared yet," his apprentice shouted anxiously from behind. I didn't even look back, just kept racing out. Anyone who stays for a shift like that is purely brainless. If I leave too late, there won't even be leftovers in the cafeteria, so I'll just have to chew on dry instant noodles. Whoever wants to be a corporate slave can do it. To hell with overtime. As soon as the words left his mouth, he hit the first green light perfectly. Leaving on time is the only way for a worker to maintain some dignity. I really wasn't thinking straight before. I used to struggle against the machines, even after work, just afraid of affecting tomorrow's pathetic progress. I always felt that doing extra work was my duty. I didn't care about working overtime or staying up late. But it resulted in me staring at empty bowls in the cafeteria every day. Kong will eventually have to pay for instant noodles out of his own pocket to survive. Now, I've finally woken up. No one appreciates you for doing twice the work. But being 2 minutes late can erase an entire year's worth of hard work. It's simply outrageous. Even after losing 50,000 in emergency funds, why am I still acting like a model worker? I need to figure out a side hustle tonight to help with the household expenses. Every little bit helps. Swallowing his last bite of food, he pulled up a secret number on his phone. The competitor next door, Director Wu. "Are you still looking for someone? Are you still looking for people?" On the other end of the line, the man instantly beamed with joy. He was so enthusiastic he practically wanted to bring a cup of tea over through the phone line. "I am." He did some quick mental math. The other side went silent for 2 seconds, making him think the old fox was going to lowball him. Instead, the man spoke decisively. "As long as you're willing to come. 500 is 500. He quickly closed the deal. The factory was already in total chaos, leaving him stunned on the spot. A wave of extremely complex emotions suddenly surged in his heart. The one who forced me to work late until 3 a.m. without even a word of thanks was my old employer, where I had sold my life for 5 years. And the one who was ready to throw money around after just a casual stroll turned out to be someone else's boss. He hung up the phone, hopped on his electric scooter, and twisted the throttle to the max. Here I come, 2,000 yuan of extra cash. As soon as he arrived at the factory gate, he saw Director Wu looking anxiously into the distance. My living ancestor, you're finally here. Several veteran technicians had almost completely disassembled the parts, but still couldn't find the problem. Take me to see the results. Just as I arrived, hearing the machine cough twice, he already had a good idea. The machine was running smoother than when it first left the factory. If it weren't for the fact that my old employer's machines were as broken as scrap metal, forcing me to practice on them every day, I really wouldn't have developed this god-tier skill. Director Wu's eyes nearly popped out of his head. It was fixed in 10 minutes. The faces of the nearby veteran technicians turned as green as bitter melons. Someone whispered testily, "Did you already know the answer beforehand?" He shook the engine oil from his palms. No. That master's mouth twitched. The engine layer. The several of us have been feeling it for 3 days and touching it for 3 days. It really is a case of comparison bringing death. Another veteran technician smacked his lips. Brotherly, respect the engine. Hearing this, my nose suddenly felt sour. A wave of bitterness surged within me. Where could I find tens of thousands of yuan? I can barely even keep my family fed and warm. If you just ask around the circle for anyone with even a bit of skill, they all easily make over 10,000. Come to my office and have some good tea. Factory Director Wu grabbed my arm and started leading me out. This factory isn't large, but the workshop is brightly lit. Every worker had a spark of passion in their eyes as they worked. Don't be polite. Working 2 extra hours can earn you 2 more yuan. Factory Director Wu admitted that with the new year approaching, his family was facing many financial gaps. I politely declined because I had finished the repair too quickly to earn much overtime pay. Brother, I know exactly how it is. You just helped me avert a huge disaster. They had been struggling for ages and failing. Factory Director Wu grinned from ear to ear. It was stalled for days and no one could fix it. Put this 2,000 yuan in your pocket first. It's for your hard work tonight. Sit down, have some tea, and let's talk. Factory Director Wu directly pressed a stack of red bills into my hand. My hand shook from the shock. I had only worked for 10 minutes. Why give so much? I actually felt incredibly guilty. If I had known, I would have slacked off to make it a full 4 hours. Then I could have taken this money with a clear conscience. Little brother, I'll be honest with you. If this machine stays down for 1 more day, I'll lose hundreds of thousands. You've helped me fill a massive pit. Li Feng, why not just switch jobs and work with me? The pay will definitely crush that crappy factory of yours. These words instantly warmed my heart like a bowl of hot charcoal. I really didn't expect this boss to be this generous. They really treat the craftsman like their own father. I actually froze up for a moment. Quitting without a backup plan is a huge risk. No need to decide right away. But can you come over after work to help me keep things running? And help maintain the equipment while you're at it. Even if you just sit there playing on your phone, as long as the machine doesn't stop all night. 2,000 a night, no bargaining. Just help me get through these last 2 months of the year. His tone was so sincere it was impossible to refuse. I froze like a statue. How much work or not, it's 2,000 a night. There are still 60 full days until the new year. If I work for 2 full months, I'll earn more than my entire annual income at my old factory. Every night, I stared with wide eyes, full of disbelief. Director Wu nodded heavily. I won't beat around the bush with you. I have tens of millions worth of goods waiting to be processed by the end of the year. You know how this industry works. A single day of losses could make me jump off a building. I am truly envious of your skills. I'm asking you as a brother, please help me out with this big favor. I built this factory from nothing to where it is now. It really hasn't been easy. These words left me with a flood of mixed emotions. My skills are worth so much money. Then what was my 5 years of unpaid blood donation for? Was I just a complete sucker? You can rest easy about the money. If you find daily payments too much trouble, I can just pay you the entire month's wages in advance. If a bank transfer is inconvenient for you, bringing a whole box of cash wouldn't even be a problem. Wait here, I'll call the finance department to send the money to the workshop. My tongue suddenly tied itself in knots. Having been used to being exploited, I really couldn't handle this sudden windfall. Daily payments are fine, thank you so much. I should be the one saying thank you. You've helped me avert a major disaster. As Director Wu spoke, he refilled my tea. I'll take another stroll through the workshop to check for any potential hazards. To be honest, earning 2,000 yuan after only 10 minutes of operating the machines made the money feel far too hot to handle. I couldn't even taste the high-quality tea anymore. I like brothers like you who actually get things done. I'll have someone show you around. After finishing the instructions, Director Wu immediately had someone lead me straight to the workshop. I walked all around the inside and outside of the workshop. I listened intently to every single machine. I went through every machine that was running with issues. Covered in grease, I worked straight through until 11 p.m., listening to the smooth, roaring sound of the machines throughout the workshop. I felt truly at peace. Only this way. Having this 2,000 yuan in my pocket made me feel confident. On my way to my dormitory on my electric scooter, I pulled out my phone to check. The screen was full of missed calls. They were all from my co-workers at the factory. I had been so focused on repairing the machines that I had casually put my phone on silent. I opened WeChat and saw over 99 unread messages. Brotherly, where did you go? The night shift brothers said the machines won't start at all. Hurry and help us. The sales department is pressuring us for goods like crazy. The client suddenly moved the delivery date up. The machines won't start no matter what. The machines won't start, and the other machines in the workshop are also breaking down. Everyone was at a loss. The factory director was already out in the street cursing. It was a nonstop bombardment of messages in the workshop group. I had already finished work and was out delivering food. I slowly typed a reply. We'll talk about it tomorrow morning. I'm not doing this kind of unpaid labor for nothing. I can't stay even 1 second longer right now. I casually tapped on the message below. There sat a transfer from Director Wu. A full 60,000 yuan. Li Feng, thank you so much. I just finished drinking and returned to the factory. Thank you for clearing out all the potential hazards. This is your hard work pay for the month, paid in advance. Please accept it quickly, don't refuse. You must accept it. This boss was truly generous. I thought he was just talking big when he mentioned early payment. I was momentarily stunned. My fingers were trembling slightly as I pressed the screen. Anyway, from now on, I'll definitely leave work right on time at my old company. All of his energy at night is spent protecting Boss Wu. I had originally planned that if Boss Wu was stingy and didn't get any big jobs, I would visit more factories to promote my technology. With the new year approaching, all production lines are working hard to catch up. There is a shortage of skilled technical experts everywhere. At a critical time like this, as long as you are willing to work hard, you can definitely make a huge profit for a prosperous new year. A bit of hardship or exhaustion doesn't matter at all. What's truly fatal is having an empty pocket and no money for the new year. As a middle-aged man carrying a mortgage and supporting a family, making money is the only absolute truth. My mind was filled with the look in my father's eyes as he waited for his medicine, my wife's growing belly day by day, and the flowing expenses of the new year. It was suffocating, yet it gave me something to strive for, completely forgetting about the nights of unpaid overtime. This sleep was simply incredibly refreshing. Thinking about how the year-end bonus stolen by that damn director had been earned back twofold. The frustration in my heart instantly vanished. He didn't even have a single dream and slept straight through until dawn. Early the next morning, I once again rushed into the factory, precisely hitting the 3-second countdown. Hearing the beep of the time clock and seeing the green light. Slowly taking out his phone. As soon as the screen lit up, the dense, unread messages were all wails from the workshop group chats. Swiping through the screen, I almost couldn't help but burst out laughing. It's over. The commotion from the machine failure just now was so loud it shook half the factory. The director rushed over at 2 a.m., wrapped in his clothes. He scolded the night shift leader until he burst into tears on the spot. I shoved my phone back into my pocket. Whistling, I strolled into the workshop. I acted completely clueless, like I had just woken up. As soon as I wandered over to machine number 3, I saw a large crowd gathered around it. Everyone looked as miserable as frost-bitten eggplants. The director stood in the middle like a wooden post. His eyes were bloodshot, looking like he had lost everything playing mahjong for 3 days straight. His face contorted the moment he caught sight of me. Li Feng, where the hell were you last night? You don't even bother to look at the machine, even though it's paralyzed like this. I casually pushed up the brim of my hard hat, looking completely innocent. I clocked out and left right on time last night. Didn't you repeatedly insist that the rules are paramount? I was strictly following factory regulations. These words were a killing blow. He rolled his eyes, nearly unable to catch his breath from frustration. The nearby apprentices bit their lips hard to keep from laughing. Their shoulders were shaking, too afraid to make a sound. The director gritted his teeth to suppress his anger. He forced a smile that looked even worse than crying. Fine, then you take over right now and take a look. That should be fine, right? If machine number 3 doesn't start running again, our entire production capacity for today will be shut down. I narrowed my eyes and gave a cold glance. Has the worn-out material been replaced with new parts yet? The director's eyes suddenly darted away. He began stuttering, pretending to be clueless. I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. I reported 2 days ago that the drive belt was about to break and needed to be replaced. You still refused to approve it, didn't you? The massive workshop instantly fell into a deathly silence. It was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Director, you said yourself last time when buying belts that the budget was exceeded and told us to wait until next month. The director's old face instantly turned as green as a fly. He roared in frustration, "Shut up right now. If you're too stingy to spend a few dozen yuan on parts, then get ready to pay hundreds of thousands in downtime fees." The director was pacing anxiously. "Then find a way to fix it so it keeps running. The sales department is blowing up my phone." I looked down indifferently, picking at the dirt under my fingernails. My tone was completely flat. "Sorry." The director's blood pressure nearly spiked. "What did you say? Say that again, damn you. Even the best cook can't make a meal without ingredients. Without new parts, do you want me to fix it with my life?" The workshop was full of old, broken junk. He was too stingy to replace anything. Instead, he just found ways to overwork the laborers to cover the gaps. Is the life and time of a low-level worker simply worth nothing? The workshop supervisor's mouth twitched nervously beside us. Li Feng was in the right this time. Without materials, even a god couldn't do anything. The director's face turned a dark, purplish color like fermented liver. He finally lost his composure and roared. "Then you tell me what to do. The clients are coming to inspect the goods any moment. If the machines break down, we'll all be hit with astronomical breach of contract fees." Cleared his throat leisurely and said nonchalantly, "Then if my skills aren't good enough to fix it, we'll just have to accept the breach of contract fees." Inside, I was mocking him relentlessly. It's not like the fees will be charged to me anyway. Who does he think he's intimidating with that authority? The air around us froze instantly. Everyone stared at me with wide, bulging eyes, as if I were an alien. Old Chin's mouth twitched violently as he whispered, "Holy crap. Brotherly, you've really gone too far today." The factory director's eyes were bloodshot with rage, as if his eyeballs were about to pop out of his sockets. "Li Feng, you're openly defying management. Are you determined to quit this job?" I raised my hand to interrupt his impotent rage. "I'm just strictly following the factory rules and clocking into work. You're the one who set these rules yourself. I'm simply following them. What's wrong with that? Worst case scenario, I'll just walk out right now and quit." He was shaking so violently, like he was drenched in water, that he could barely stand. I continued, expressionless. "When exactly will the replacement parts arrive? Even with express delivery, it'll take at least 3 days." The director's vision went dark. He nearly suffered a stroke and fainted on the spot. Suddenly, a fatal blow drifted from the crowd. If Brotherly hadn't been driven away last night, this huge disaster wouldn't have happened. Exactly. He used to come in early every morning to check for issues. This broken machine has never had a single moment of rest. The factory director docked 50,000 yuan of their hard-earned money just because they were late. What he did was truly heartless. The factory director glared at them fiercely. Everyone fell silent instantly, not even daring to breathe. But once the rumors started spreading, the entire workshop's atmosphere completely changed. The factory director docked 50,000 yuan over just 2 minutes, completely forcing the top expert to stop trying. The entire factory's lifeline is actually in Li Feng's hands. But now, he looks at this broken factory as if it were a trash can. Seeing the factory director's head practically steaming with rage, slowly stretched out in a big yawn. "Director, rules prohibit chatting during work. Let me know when the parts arrive." I walked away with my hands in my pockets, strolling leisurely, looking just like a retired old man out for a walk in the workshop, leaving the factory director frozen in place, his face as pale and lifeless as a corpse from a morgue. I slowly and methodically tidied up the rest of the machines. To others, this scrap metal is a death sentence. But in my hands, they all obey. During the year-end rush, the machines ran 24 hours a day. The parts were worn down, and with the lack of regular maintenance, it would be a miracle if nothing went wrong. In the past, when facing such issues, everyone relied on sheer willpower to push through. Whoever was too tired to keep their eyes open would huddle in a corner for 10 minutes before getting back to work. Back then, as the big brother, I would never let the production line stop for even half a second, even if I didn't sleep for days. I always felt this was my livelihood, and an inescapable responsibility. My brothers were forced to work overtime, and resentment was high. In the end, I was the only one left to hold everything together. To be blunt, I knew these machines better than the factory director knows his own son. My young apprentice leaned in to whisper, "Brotherly, are you really planning to run away? Are you staying behind to be a martyr? The year-end bonus has gone down the drain. I have to quit after this year." I kept my ears open for any noise from the next machine, and reached out to turn a knob. With a click, the noise vanished. I shot him a look. I could never let on about the sky-high price Mr. Wu offered. Otherwise, this crappy factory would surely explode. The exhausting day finally came to an end. Just 1 second before clocking out, the purchased parts actually arrived. A colleague shouted at the top of his lungs, "Brotherly, the materials are here. Machine 3 is saved." I didn't even give him a glance. "Time to go," I said, as soon as the words left my mouth. I sprinted toward the time clock like a 100-meter dash. The moment the green light flashed, I felt on top of the world. Another 2,000 yuan in the pocket tonight. I brushed the black grease off my palms with disdain. I'll worry about that after clocking in tomorrow morning. The warehouse manager was stunned, but the factory director had given a strict order that it must be finished tonight. You get paid to do the job. There's no way I'm working overtime for free. I still have to rush out to do food delivery for extra cash. Otherwise, how am I supposed to afford the new year? The other workers stared at his retreating back, desperately trying not to laugh. A sense of secret satisfaction spread through the workshop, as if someone had finally dared to stand up to the boss. The veteran workers whispered in shock. That was awesome. Brotherly is a real man. He's not afraid of anything. Meanwhile, the factory director stood at the office door, stretching his neck out to sea. His face was as dark as soot. Where are the parts? Hurry up and get them installed. Where the hell is Li Feng? The warehouse manager was trembling with fear. The parts are here, but Brotherly has already clocked out and left. What? Call him and get him back here immediately. Right away. The warehouse manager was on the verge of tears. The supervisor stammered, swallowing hard. There was no way to stop him. This is chaos. Who is actually in charge of this damn factory? But the sales department gave a strict order. The client will arrive at 10 tomorrow morning to inspect the goods. The director's face instantly turned from dark purple to deathly pale. If the client arrives and sees machine number 3 is broken, the order will definitely be cancelled. The massive late fees would be more than the factory is worth. His legs shook so much he slumped against the doorframe. When Li Feng comes in tomorrow morning, will he actually fix it? The director stuttered, swallowing hard. Most likely yes. The director ground his teeth with a loud creak. If he dares to slack off tomorrow, I'll definitely. Before he could even finish his threat, he deflated instantly like a punctured ball. No, I absolutely cannot provoke this living ancestor again. The director sighed helplessly. You can only blame yourself for docking his 50,000 yuan life-saving fund over just 2 minutes. You were too ruthless. Trembling, he slumped into his chair. His throat felt dry. It's not all my fault. He was the one who broke the rules first. At this very moment, browsing funny videos and sipping on a 3 yuan iced soda, he was comfortably heading to Boss Wu's to make big money. His phone had long been set to silent. Even with his eyes closed, he could imagine the factory director's face. A mess of anxiety and fear. He deserved it. Who told him to be so ruthless and dock my 50,000? Boss Wu's place was filled with almost entirely brand new equipment. They were extremely well maintained, with only occasional minor issues. Anything could be fixed easily. He got off work on time every day and could even make a fortune on the side. Life was absolutely amazing. Returning to the dormitory under the cover of darkness, he saw someone pacing anxiously by the entrance from far away. Oh, my brother. You finally showed up. Hurry to the workshop to put out the fire. The client arrived overnight. Sales needs to see the finished product on the production line by tomorrow morning. Today's working hours are already exhausted. Everything can wait until tomorrow. I just spent the whole night running in the cold wind. At least I earned over 100 yuan. As long as the machines keep running tonight, I'll pay an extra 200 out of my own pocket. The factory director's voice suddenly came from behind. Looking at that old face under the streetlight, it was as sallow as paper. My heart skipped a beat. This stingy man actually came here to corner me personally. See you early tomorrow. I don't have a second year-end bonus for you to deduct. Leaving these words behind, I turned and headed toward the dormitory. 500 yuan, and I'll also grant you an extra day of paid leave tomorrow. I froze in my tracks, calculating the math in my head. Paid leave means I can take on another private job for a day. It doesn't seem like a bad deal. I'm serious. The factory director followed close behind like a drowning man clutching at a straw. The sun must have risen in the west. How did this vampire suddenly change his ways? Swiping my phone screen, I saw a bunch of desperate pleas for help in the workshop group chat. I sneered instantly. It turns out everyone else was helpless and couldn't handle it. Director, we were truly out of options, which is why we were forced to come and beg me. But after running around all day, my bones are falling apart. It's much more comfortable to just lie in bed. I intentionally dragged out my words as I continued walking upstairs. Do whatever you want, no matter how anxious you are. I've seen too many empty promises like this. I won't believe it until I see the money. Man, this guy. The most annoying thing when walking at night is being called out from behind. Especially by a shady factory director like this. 500 yuan in cash, plus 2 full days of compensatory leave. Wait, Li Feng, don't you dare walk away. My footsteps stopped abruptly. This old fox is truly pushed to the edge of jumping off a building. He's terrified. The high and mighty, arrogant attitude he used to hold has now shattered into pieces. I slowly turned around. 500 yuan plus 2 days of compensatory leave. Do you dare to sign it in black and white right now? I'll sign. If you want me to write a note, I'll write it. I snorted coldly in my heart. How domineering he was when he swiped his pin and embezzled 50,000 yuan from me. Now he's acting like a coward and calling me daddy. I let out an extremely exaggerated sigh. My voice was drawn out and languid. Oh, tonight was just too exhausting. My legs feel like they're filled with lead. Look at me. I can't even stand steadily, let alone work with energy. The director was so anxious he was on the verge of tears. Li Feng, I'm begging you. The client checked into the hotel in the middle of the night. The production starts at 10 tomorrow morning. Machine number 3 is as lifeless as a dead pig right now. Are you trying to make me die for this? Director, when you put that kind of pressure on me, it makes things quite stressful for me too. The director was panting heavily like a bellows. Then, can you show some mercy now? Fine. As soon as these words were spoken, the brothers watching nearby almost burst into applause. To be honest, I'm not the type of person to ignore someone in need. But when dealing with a boss who looks down on others, you have to strip him of his pride. So he learns to respect technology. As soon as I approached machine number 3, the crowd instantly parted to create a path. The massive machine 3 lay there lifeless, like a completely useless hunk of dead iron. Just as I crouched down, a nearby coworker quickly reported, "A few of us have been struggling with this piece of junk for 2 hours, and we haven't made any progress at all." The factory director was so anxious he was practically in tears. The sales department's big shots were blowing up his phone. A cold smirk tugged at the corner of my mouth. Whenever we encountered these life-threatening technical issues in the past, wasn't I always the one who stepped in to fix them? Hearing this, the factory director's facial muscles twitched violently. I shone a bright flashlight into the machine's interior. The fault was even more obvious than lice on a bald man's head. The drive belt was chewed up and peeling, and the entire axis was completely misaligned. If power were forced through this, the entire workshop would be destroyed with it. It's no exaggeration to say. The main bearing would definitely be destroyed instantly. Lowering my voice, I cursed coldly. Who was blind enough to mess with the base? The foundation wasn't even secure. The new apprentice, trembling with fear, weakly raised his hand. The factory director said to prioritize production. He told us to just close our eyes and make the machine run for now. The factory director was so angry, he almost suffocated on the spot. Shut your damn mouth. Would it kill you to say a little less? I didn't bother responding and simply shouted out orders. Wrench number 8 and 13. The people around us rushed to grab the tools like they were possessed. The moment I took the tools and started working, the entire noisy workshop fell into dead silence. The harsh sound of metal scraping rang out. Everyone held their breath, staring intently at my hands moving rapidly. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 35 minutes, and it was done. My oil-stained black glove traced an arc through the air, then slammed onto the table. The factory director froze like an ice sculpture. What? You're not joking, are you? Just go press the start button and see for yourself. The factory director extended his trembling finger, pressing it firmly onto the start button. The massive machine number 3 roared to life like a waking beast. It ran as smoothly as if it had been lubricated. The operating sound was so smooth, it almost brought tears to one's eyes. The entire workshop went silent for 2 seconds, then instantly erupted into chaos. Brother Li is a god. It's absolutely freaking amazing. Li Feng, you are literally a god to this factory. Even the experienced workshop director was clicking his tongue in disbelief. This terrifying hand speed. I've never seen anyone else in the entire industry do this. The factory director's legs were so weak with excitement, he almost fell to his knees. Li Feng, you're my hero. From now on, if anyone dares to take even a single cent from you, I'll fight them to the death. From now on, whatever you say goes in this factory. She glanced at him coldly from the corner of her eye. Stop talking nonsense. Remember to slap those 2 compensatory leave slips and 500 yuan on my desk tomorrow morning. Right away. Immediately. Trembling, he pulled out his phone and sent a WeChat transfer right in front of everyone. It's completely fixed for tonight, right? Li Yin, you can breathe easy now that everything is completely sorted out tonight, right? Perfectly fine, no issues at all. As for the compensatory leave, take 2 days off. Take as many days as you want. He nodded with satisfaction. Work's done. Let's go. My head was throbbing from exhaustion. With his hands behind his back, he swaggered out of the workshop like someone just finished a casual stroll. Behind him, the dozens of workers stood in collective salute. Their eyes watching his retreating figure were filled with pure devotion, as if looking at a living ancestor. Having 2 days off felt absolutely amazing. Every day, I'd sleep until I woke up naturally, opening my eyes to see the sun already high in the sky, take a hot shower, and ride my old donkey around the street corner, slurping down a bowl of hot dry noodles, downing 2 yuan worth of iced soy milk, sighing in pure comfort. This divine life, free from stress, anger, or being framed, is something I wouldn't trade even for an emperor. At night, I'd go next door to earn 2,000 bucks as usual, A few random taps with a wrench and the machine would run perfectly. Boss Wu gave me a thumbs up on the spot. Brother, these hands of yours must be made of pure gold. Boss, you sure have a way with words. Keep praising me like that, and I want to sign a 6-month contract to sell myself to you. My time off ended, and I returned to the original factory. Everything was still using the old formula. But right after clocking in, I looked up. A few unfamiliar faces had mysteriously appeared in the workshop. Standing tall, they looked even more professional than the workshop director. A colleague leaned in and whispered mysteriously, "Those guys are big shots the factory director just hired for a heavy price. I heard they make $12,000 a month." Couldn't help but click my tongue heavily in my heart. This compensation is truly a massive investment. I worked myself to death only to have 50,000 yuan stolen from me in a year. And now that money is being used to pay high salaries to these great masters. The factory director's calculation is truly blatant. He's basically using my hard-earned money to pay them for 2 months. A wave of bitterness rose in my heart, but it passed in an instant. Checking the balance in my pocket. It's miles ahead of these so-called senior technicians. Since new people have arrived, then I can slack off even more with a clear conscience. The more capable they are, the more openly I can slack off. I felt so relieved, and as soon as the clock-out bell rang, muscle memory kicked in. I was the first to sprint to the time clock. Who else understands the joy of clocking out right on time? But today, I didn't rush to slip away. Instead, I headed straight into the factory director's office. The old man was leaning comfortably in his boss chair, sipping on some fine Tiguanyin tea. I knocked on the door. "Director, I wanted to ask you something." His eyelid flickered. "That 50,000 yuan year-end bonus from last time. Could you show some mercy? It was just being 2 minutes late. No need to be so harsh." The director's face changed instantly, like turning a page. Switching back to his high and mighty leader persona, he slowly picked up his teacup and blew on the tea foam. "Li Feng, the factory has its rules. Being late is a violation. If I made an exception for you, then every worker in the factory would be late every day. You have to understand my difficulties too." Staring hard at his face, I truly learned something new. People are great when they need you, but forget you once they don't. When asking for a favor, they'd practically kneel and call you father. As soon as the crisis was over, he immediately put on that disgusting, arrogant official act again, suppressing the anger in my heart. I tried to find a compromise. Even a small deduction would be fine. The director's skin is thicker than the steel plates on a machine tool. Not even a change in expression. This request is purely unreasonable. There's absolutely no way I'll agree. I shrugged indifferently. If you're going to be so heartless, then don't blame me for continuing to be completely useless. Another month passed by like flowing water. Those new big shots. Their academic certificates could probably stack a meter high, but they're too stiff to handle the real work. And they can't stand even a hint of grease. They haven't grasped the quirks of these old machines in the workshop. They haven't figured out the trick to them at all. Relying on that bit of theoretical knowledge, they can only bluff for a while. As soon as they encounter a difficult problem, they're completely lost. Whenever there's dirty, exhausting work, it's still assigned to me. I don't mind doing my job for my salary. Besides, those newcomers were still full of fresh energy when they first arrived, running back and forth, acting quite diligent. The factory director was even dreaming big, thinking he had hired saviors for 12,000, thinking he finally wouldn't have to deal with my attitude. Walking through the workshop every day with his hands behind his back, acting all important. I continued to clock in on time and never stayed a second extra. After work, I headed straight to Boss Wu's place for maintenance. I've trained those machines to follow my every command. Boss Wu smiles from ear to ear every time he sees me. At the start of the second month, he very readily transferred the remaining 60,000 yuan directly into my account. These days of slacking off while earning double pay are simply incredibly comfortable. But just when everyone thought the newcomers could carry the load, a devastating disaster. The factory manager never would have imagined how much reality would soon slap him in the face, no matter how cocky he is now. Still clocking in and out right on time. If I stay even 1 second longer, I lose. As expected, this illusion of calm didn't last a few days before shattering. This morning, right after clocking in and entering the workshop, I looked up and saw those high-paid technicians crowding around machine number 5. Every single one of them had brows furrowed deeply, looking as if they had seen a ghost. I strolled over to get a closer listen. They were all squatting there, complaining wildly. The structural design of this broken machine is simply inhumane. How could it be so retro? The screw on the drive shaft is completely jammed. Which idiot did this? We spent all of yesterday afternoon struggling with it. The more we adjusted the data, the more it collapsed. We have no clue what's wrong. Standing behind them, I almost couldn't help but burst out laughing. Retro? You highly educated guys just haven't seen much. You've never seen such an antique, battle-damaged piece of equipment. This group of so-called elites, earning high salaries with high degrees, are simply allergic to grease. If you made them crawl under a machine, they couldn't do it. Their only talent is standing around giving orders. Old Chun crept over slyly and lowered his voice. Brotherly, they were at it until 11 p.m. last night. Unit 5 didn't make a sound. The director was so anxious he was nearly pulling his hair out. So impressive. With a monthly salary of 12,000, they can't even handle machine number 5. That 18,000 is all just fake skill. That was such a great line, I almost burst out laughing right then and there. You could tell just by listening with your eyes closed. The core bearing was definitely seized. The lubricant inside had long since thickened into a hard, asphalt-like disc. But I'd have to be an idiot to actively step in and help. My current role is top-tier water-tasting master and the king of slacking off. If I don't have to lift a finger, I won't get involved. My current workplace creed is carved into my forehead. Anything that isn't within my jurisdiction, I won't even lift a pinky finger for it. Around 10 o'clock, a deafening explosion suddenly erupted throughout the entire workshop. The concrete floor beneath my feet shook violently 3 times. Everyone in the workshop was instantly stunned. Then, a newcomer's voice was heard screaming shrilly in a cracking tone. The factory director is finished. Machine number 5 has blown up. The afterimage of the factory director rushing out of his office was even more wild than me rushing to my side job next door to earn 2,000. What on earth happened? Didn't you guarantee yesterday that it was fixed? The newcomer was pale with fear. Making frantic excuses, we followed the repair procedure, powered it on, and adjusted the parameters. Then it just suddenly malfunctioned. Every second machine number 5 is stopped. It's burning real money. Do you people even have brains? The factory director's eyes were bloodshot with rage. He looked like he might spit blood all over the motherboard. The workshop director was sweating profusely, frantically wiping his forehead. Without Li Feng here to hold things down, none of them could handle this. Guangchang's face was so dark it could drip. He suddenly whipped his head around, glaring at me with pure malice. I happened to be passing by, carrying a large wrench. I stared blankly at the ceiling, my entire expression saying, "Not my problem. Li Feng, get over here and deal with this." "Director, I'm busy doing my own job. Machine number 5 isn't my responsibility." The factory director was so choked up by my words he nearly fainted. His face turned a moldy shade of purple. The highly educated employees, earning 12,000 a month, looked deathly pale, wishing they could sink into the floor. One of them still tried to act tough. "Director, don't worry." But the moment his finger touched the start button, a terrifying, ear-splitting metallic crash erupted. Everyone in the workshop jumped in fright. This time, even smoke stopped rising. The highest level of overload protection was triggered directly. The piercing alarm sounded like a pig being slaughtered, echoing through the workshop. The factory director's face went completely pale. His lips trembled as he shouted, "Fix it, quickly. The sales department is waiting on machine number 5 to save us." Old Chun let out a long, desperate sigh. It was completely broken. The massive workshop fell into instant silence. The atmosphere was as heavy as a funeral. Dozens of eyes turned toward me all at once. Everyone was waiting for me to break the deadlock. A few newcomers were also stealing frantic glances at me from the corners of their eyes. Their eyes were screaming for help. "Big boss, we're truly doomed." The factory director's previous arrogant leadership had long since crumbled into dust. He shuffled to my side like a defeated quail. His voice was as thin as a mosquito's buzz. Just as I was about to speak, I slowly pulled out my phone to take a look. Boss Wu had sent a WeChat message. "Li Feng, my good brother. Come over early tonight. I've arranged a top-tier seafood feast for you. As long as you are sitting in the workshop, I'll feel at ease, brother." Looking at the screen, the corners of my mouth curled upward uncontrollably. I almost burst out laughing. Over here, they were shamelessly crying and begging for my help. While over there, they were treating me like a living god on an altar. This contrast between fire and ice felt so good my soul almost left my body. I slowly raised my head and stared at the factory director's face, which looked like he was about to burst into tears. Then, I slowly uttered a single sentence. "Director, why did you come to ask me? Didn't the company just spend a fortune to hire a high-level technician for 12,000 yuan? They are highly educated elites. For small matters like this, you should ask them for instructions." The factory director's Adam's apple bobbed violently. He swallowed a mouthful of bitterness. Several newcomers were publicly humiliated. The factory director completely broke down. His defenses collapsed. "Li Feng, you're the only one who can handle machine number 5 in this entire factory." Looking at him coldly, he remained silent for a full 3 seconds. It wasn't that he was truly leaving him to die. It was just that facing someone who burns bridges like this, if he didn't take the opportunity to make him pay a price, he would never learn the meaning of respecting technology. He took a deep breath. His gaze was cold. "Director, Last time in the office, you personally instructed me. That factory rules are paramount. Since the rules are set, shouldn't we follow them strictly now? Even if we take it to the extreme. Machine number 5 isn't my responsibility. If I meddle recklessly, wouldn't I be snatching the high-level technicians' jobs? That wouldn't be appropriate. The director's face instantly turned pale. He simply shoved the wrench into his pocket, turned around, and went back to his own work. While chaos erupted over at machine number 5, I remained as calm as an old dog, without a single ripple in my heart. I'm just a worker. I show up on time and do my job for the pay. I'll stick to my own small patch of land. The rest of the mess is none of my business. Transforming back into a sprinter to take first place, I clocked out right on the second. It was simply too satisfying. I brushed the dust off my hands, humming a little tune with a happy heart. Meanwhile, those experts earning $12,000 a month were pulling their hair out. Damn it, why did the parameters crash again? I adjusted them with my own hands. Where exactly is the problem? I was completely numb, my head buzzing with stress. The workshop director was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. You call this repairing machines? The college graduates turned pale with fear. Our leader has truly done everything they can. Given it your all. I could fix this piece of junk just by listening to it with my eyes closed. The lot of you couldn't fix it even if you were playing mahjong together. The factory director stood nearby, his mouth twitching uncontrollably from shock. But I had long since vanished. Once off the clock, even the gods couldn't make me stay. Expecting me to work for free without pay? You're dreaming. I mounted my old donkey and rode into the evening breeze. Speeding along, I felt incredibly comfortable. At 9 in the evening, I sat comfortably in Boss Wu's factory, sipping hot tea, and easily tuned up the two machines. Brotherly foam. Is this godlike skill passed down from your ancestors? It's incredibly steady. Head home early tonight. Don't overwork yourself. As long as you come over and give them a quick touch, I'll feel at ease. I'm counting on you to show your skills for the next month. The factory orders were running incredibly smoothly. He smiled, waved his hand, and lowered his head to continue working. But just as he wiped his hands, the phone in his pocket began vibrating wildly as if it had been electrified. He pulled it out and saw the workshop group chat was exploding with messages. It was over. Machine 5 was completely dead. It had totally broken down. Even the indicator lights wouldn't turn on. Everything coming off the assembly line was now scrap. Client calls were flooding in incessantly. Like a death knell, the factory director was smashing cups in his office, losing his mind. The accountant had just hit the calculator. The estimated loss this time was heading straight for 100 million. He nearly spat his hot tea all over the screen. Even if we poured the entire factory's annual profit into it, 100 million wouldn't be enough to fill the hole. He blinked a few times, then scrolled down to watch the drama unfold. Machine 5 handled all the high-profit orders for super VIPs. To make matters worse, it was bottlenecking the 2 assembly lines behind it. Everything leaving the warehouse these past 2 days was nothing but industrial trash. Clients were furious, and legal letters were being slapped right onto the director's face. Ha 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 ha. He couldn't help himself. He burst out laughing, slumped over the table, and pounded it wildly. This wasn't just a broken machine. This was a nuclear explosion. Didn't they complain about me slacking off and being lazy before? I've only been lying flat for a few days, and I've already cost the factory 100 million. The more money they lose, the closer they get to bankruptcy, the more the damn director loses face. Karma is real. This is the retribution for treating top-tier technical experts like dogs. At 11 p.m., he slowly rode his electric scooter back toward the dormitory. From a distance, he saw the entire factory area was as bright as day. A group of unlucky people with bloodshot eyes were still struggling around machine number 5. Even the factory director, who usually looks down on everyone, had rolled up his sleeves to hand out wrenches. As he happened to pass the gate, someone inside spotted him and shouted at the top of their lungs. "Brotherly, you're finally back, you savior. Hurry in and save us." He didn't even look back. After running deliveries all day, his bones felt like they were falling apart. "Brotherly, please." The factory director was on the verge of a mental breakdown. He kept walking toward the dormitory without stopping. The scene behind him was pure hell. Several people were half buried in the machine, groping around blindly. Someone smashed a chair in frustration. Someone else was screaming, clutching their head and squatting on the ground, questioning their very existence. The factory director sat slumped on a parts bin like a pile of mud. His eyes were hollow and lifeless, repeating the same words over and over. He couldn't help but look back for a second to admire the beautiful sight. Then, he happily hummed a tune and headed into his room to sleep. Come to think of it, I really should thank him for docking my pay. It forced me to find extra work, and the money I've made these past 2 months blows that pathetic year-end bonus out of the water. This year is definitely going to be a gold mine. Working overtime for free. Even a dog wouldn't put up with that nonsense. Just as he pushed open his dormitory door, before he could even untie his shoelaces. Several large men rushed out and lifted him straight into the air. Brotherly, please have mercy and save us, brothers. That damn factory director had made a threat. If machine number 5 isn't fixed, everyone's year-end bonus in the entire workshop will be wiped out. Frozen in midair. Guilt by association. The ones pleading with me are the brothers I usually work shirtless with. Right now, their eyes are so bloodshot they look like they're about to bleed. The words, "What's it to me?" were right on the tip of my tongue. But they got stuck in my throat. Looking at these weathered faces on the verge of breaking down and crying. That stubborn determination to fight to the end softened just a little. Their families all depend on this money to survive. The kids need new clothes for the new year. Mothers-in-law are waiting for big red envelopes. No one knows better than me how heavy this life-saving money is. After working hard all year, all we want is this small glimmer of hope at year-end. All we were hoping for was this small bit of hope at the end of the year. Brotherly, please step up. The director has issued a death sentence. If we can't bring you back, everyone's hard-earned money will go down the drain. Hearing this, I almost couldn't help but laugh out loud. Fine, you little brat, trying to use collective punishment on me? Stealing from just me wasn't enough. Now you're trying to smash everyone's rice bowls to force me to bow down. This is truly disgusting. You weren't so arrogant when you waved your hand and stole 50,000 from me. Now you realize you've hit a brick wall and it's going to hurt. My expression instantly turned cold when he was blatantly robbing my bonus. Why didn't any of you stand up and say something? Everyone went silent. After a second of tension, brotherly, no one expected the director to actually go this far. If it really gets deducted in full, I won't be able to face my wife and kids when I get home. Brotherly, my wife is 8 months pregnant. We were counting on this money to save up for formula for the baby on the way. I'm in the same boat, brother. If I don't get my year-end bonus, my wife will definitely kick me and my luggage out of the house. Brotherly, you are the father and savior of all several hundred people in this workshop. A long silence followed. Looking at this group of rough, burly men, their eyes were red, staring at me as if I were a living Buddha. My heart tightened painfully. Having just finished delivering food outside, I was incredibly exhausted. I pushed through my limits and argued one last time. My dear brother, please stop being so formal. Brothers, we are truly backed into a corner this time. If the machines keep breaking down like this, the losses will be astronomical. Forget the year-end bonus. Even next month's base salary is uncertain. I let out a heavy sigh. I really wanted to just let that damn factory director choke on his own greed. But I couldn't just stand by and watch these poor brothers suffer along with me. I patted the dust off my pant legs and stood up abruptly. Let's go. The crowd instantly erupted. They were shouting with excitement. They wanted to worship me like a god and carry me straight into the workshop. The workshop looked like a scene from the apocalypse. Don't pull that power cord. Holy crap, it's over, it's over. It's freaking on fire again. Help, why is there toxic smoke again? The core thermal sensor is completely burnt through. Everything is scrapped. Let's all just wait here to die. The workshop director sat in the corner, clutching his bald head. That high and mighty factory director was staring blankly, chanting mechanically like a broken record. A small goal, you know. How did I get such terrible luck? Suddenly looked up and saw my coworkers surrounding me as I walked in. It was like seeing his own mother in the middle of the night. He was so excited he was crawling, nearly slamming his knees into the ground. Hearing the name, Foam Foam, almost made me throw up my dinner from last night. I'm already off the clock. The factory director gasped at my words. He didn't dare utter a single word. He immediately switched into high-quality bootlicking mode. Brother Foam, I'm begging you. Just name your price, name whatever you want. As long as you can show mercy and save this factory. I wouldn't mind kowtowing to you 300 times right now. The brothers nearby approached pitifully to plead. Brotherly, please show us what you can do. We are truly powerless to fix this mess. Brother, if you don't step in tonight, every brother in the workshop will have to line up to jump off a building. He let out a heavy sigh, paced over to machine number 5, and leaned in to take a look. He almost spat out a mouthful of blood. These top-tier wastes making over $10,000 a month literally turned multi-million-dollar equipment into scrap metal. More than half the fastening screws were missing. Signal wires were all plugged in backward, and the core was completely misaligned. Even the most critical spindle had been violently twisted into a pretzel. He couldn't help but point at the machine and curse. Holy shit. This is straight-up sabotage. The high-achieving students' faces instantly flushed red. You guys are practically rushing the whole factory into bankruptcy. Not wanting to waste another word, he suddenly looked up, his cold gaze sweeping across the room. 8 millimeters, 10 millimeters, 12 millimeters wrenches. High-precision calibration ruler for multimeters. And insulated gloves. Bring them to me, fast. Within 2 minutes, everything was brought right in front of him. 8 millimeters, 10 millimeters, and 12 millimeters wrenches. Multimeter, screwdriver, calibration ruler, and insulated gloves. Everything was there. Someone even pre-opened a bottle of mineral water and handed it to him respectfully. Brotherly, have some water to moisten your throat first. Brotherly, I'll hold the light for you. Is this brightness enough? Brotherly, the ground is cold. Let me lay down more cardboard for you. He couldn't help but sneer inwardly. Behind his back, they usually mock him as an old hand. Now they are all acting like devoted subordinates. Their change of attitude was faster than turning a page. He pulled up his work jacket zipper and put on his insulated gloves. Leaning down, he crawled directly under the chassis of machine number 5. The inside of this old machine was filled with dense, intricate components. The wiring is so complex there's no way to even start. It was messed up by those rookies like a bowl of mush. Cleaning up this mess now requires at least 3 times the effort. As soon as he started moving, the entire workshop went dead silent. Not even a single person dared to breathe. The sharp, ear-piercing sound of metal scraping rang out. Dozens of people instantly froze as if paralyzed, holding their breath. He is trying to find the calibration point again. Holy shit, books never taught this kind of blind operation technique. Who do you think you are, worthy of seeing such a skill? You think you can just watch this whenever you want, like watching your mom cook ribs? Guangchang stood behind him like a wooden pole, not daring to move an inch, fearing any noise might disturb the process. Lying under the machine, his heart was as steady as a mountain. This kind of minor issue can be handled with eyes closed. It's as simple as drinking water. The spindle was twisted into this mess, causing at least 5 core components to go out of alignment. Even the most basic sensors had their positive and negative terminals reversed. No wonder the machine screamed like a pig when the power turned on. The temperature control wiring was blindly plugged in by those so-called experts. 1 second later, and the motherboard would have definitely burned to a crisp. If I hadn't been called out of retirement tonight, with their method of violent disassembly, they would have essentially dragged the whole factory into a suicide mission. He kept his head down, working intensely for over 3 hours without moving. In the past, working overtime and staying up late was a daily routine. Brotherly, do you want to come out and take a breather first? Shut the hell up and just hand me the open-end wrench. Li Feng's incredible performance was even more thrilling than a Hollywood blockbuster. Stayed up until 3 in the morning. The workshop's fluorescent lights were blinding. Gritting his teeth, he tightened the final, critical nut. He collapsed onto the floor, letting out a long, heavy breath. It was finally done. As the power turned on, the factory director reached out with trembling fingers, pressing firmly on the green start button. The massive machine number 5 emitted a very steady roar. In that second, the entire factory erupted in excitement. It's stable, it's stable. It's finally back to life. Brotherly, you're freaking the god of mechanics descended to Earth. Holy crap, if I hadn't been watching with my own 2 eyes, I would have thought I was watching sci-fi special effects. The $100 million order had finally been saved from certain death. Some workers, unable to handle the pressure, burst into tears right then and there. The factory director rushed forward like a long-lost son seeing his father. Feng Feng, my dear ancestor, you just saved my life and the life of the entire company. From now on, if anyone dares to bring up being late again, I'll be the first to tear them apart. From now on, you're my real brother in this factory. I'll treat you with more respect than the chairman himself. From this day forward, if you point east, I will never go west. Whatever you want, it's yours. Whatever money you need, I'll approve it immediately. If you want a long vacation, I'll sign it right away. If you want a promotion and a raise, I'll process it overnight. Exhausted to the point of his bones falling apart, he forced his eyes open to glance at him. Then what about my 50,000 yuan in stolen year-end bonus? Can you spit it out now? The factory director jolted as if struck by high-voltage electricity. I'll pay it back. Not only will I refund your 50,000, I'll personally top it up with another 20,000. As long as you ask for 400,000, I'll make it happen. From now on, you're like a father to me. Director, your ability to change faces is smoother than a beauty filter. You were so tough when you slashed his 50,000 back then. This way of groveling is truly textbook. If I had known Brother Li was the pillar of the entire factory, trying to provoke him back then was pure brain rot. The factory director's face turned various shades of blue and green. He didn't dare utter a single word. He could only keep a thick skin and laugh nervously. He pulled off his oil-stained insulating gloves and patted them off. All right, if there's nothing else, I'm going back to sleep. Everyone was instantly stunned by this move. He just saved the day, and now he's just walking away. Brotherly, you're leaving us to die without even checking on us? Aren't you going to stay and monitor the stability of the parameters? It's long past clock-out time. I'm not some free slave you can call whenever you want. The factory director's voice cracked with desperation as he nearly screamed. My living ancestor. It's 3:30 in the fucking morning. Even 3 in the morning is my private time after work. The entire workshop erupted in laughter loud enough to blow the roof off. Just as he was strolling down the empty corridor, a sudden burst of hurried footsteps came from behind him. Just as he was about to turn back toward the dormitory, the factory director came running toward him, panting like a dog, desperately blocking his path. Li Feng. He felt as if the marrow had been drained from his bones. Every mistake is my fault. You are a big-hearted man, so please don't hold this against me. I'm just someone with a loose tongue and a lack of common sense. You absolutely cannot quit. First thing next spring, I will definitely give you a promotion and a raise. As long as you don't just walk away, you can name your price. He came to a sudden halt. It seems this old fox has finally caught wind of my plan to quit. I thought he would actually stay stubborn to the end. Looking down at the factory director, who was bowing frantically and acting submissive in the middle of the night, a playful smirk curled at the corner of his mouth. Without any nonsense or empty threats. Director, who can guarantee what will happen in the future? Hearing this, the factory director's legs went weak and he nearly collapsed in the corridor, dragging his feet back to the dormitory. He didn't even have the strength to take off his oil-stained work clothes. Felt as if all the marrow had been instantly drained from their body. He collapsed onto the hard bunk bed like a dead pig. His head had barely touched the pillow for 2 minutes before he fell into a deep, snoring sleep. Early the next morning, he snapped his eyes open and grabbed his phone to check. Holy shit, it was already 10 in the morning. He bolted upright from the bed like a corpse rising from the grave. I'm completely screwed. I'm late again, and his heart was racing in his chest like a revving engine. With Director Dog's tiny-mindedness, being 2 minutes late is enough for him to swallow 50,000 yuan. This time, I'm a full 2 hours late. I'm definitely going to be publicly announced and fired in front of the whole factory. My name will probably be nailed to the pillar of shame in the factory rules for all to see. But then, a sudden thought flashed through my mind. In the middle of the night, I single-handedly pulled this crappy factory out of a 100 million yuan disaster. To hell with being the hero who saved the factory's fate. Staying in bed at 10 in the morning is the true way to respect life. I stretched out long, slowly washed my face and brushed my teeth, and strolled toward the factory grounds like a big shot. They had already prepared themselves for nothing more than a harsh scolding. Whatever happens, happens. I don't care anymore. Just as I strolled to the factory gate, I habitually pulled out my phone to check the time. A bank transfer notification suddenly popped up on the screen. It nearly blinded my eyes. The director has sent you a transfer of exactly 20,000 yuan. The message clearly read, extra reward from my own pocket. The deducted year-end bonus will be paid in full at the end of the year. I stared at the screen, completely frozen for 3 seconds. My body was more honest than my brain and decisively clicked confirm. Getting the money in hand is what matters. As for the empty promise of paying the year-end bonus later, anyone who believes that is a complete idiot. This bastard didn't hesitate to slash pay when he was wielding the knife. How much sincerity is there in this bonus? Having fallen into his trap once, I'm never being a fool a second time. I had just warmed up my phone in my pocket. The security guard at the factory gate, who usually only looks down on people, suddenly snapped to attention and saluted from a distance. Good morning, brotherly. This sudden display made me shudder. Brother, it's almost lunchtime. What do you mean morning? Forbidden. As long as it's you. Any time is early morning. The factory director just issued an order. Call him immediately the moment brotherly appears. I was instantly speechless. After working my life away in this crappy factory for 5 years, I had never experienced such top-tier, royal treatment. The moment I walked through the workshop entrance with my head held high, everything became crystal clear to me. The 3 hours spent staying up last night. The distant machine number 5 was emitting an extremely pleasant and steady hum. The sound was enough to make a worker want to weep. The workshop director spotted me at a glance. Acting as if a deity had descended, he practically slid to his knees. Brotherly, you're finally awake from your seclusion. As long as a big shot like you is standing here, our hearts can finally rest easy. That skill you showed last night was incredible. Machine number 5 has never been this well-behaved since we bought it. Good morning, brotherly. Brotherly, are you thirsty? I'll go get you some warm water. Brotherly, are you hungry? I'll go get some steamed buns from the canteen. Brotherly, you look radiant today, so handsome. I sneered inwardly. Weren't they all acting so high and mighty just yesterday? Why are they all acting like groveling servants now? The factory director rushed out of his office like a whirlwind, so excited that tears were nearly welling up in his eyes. Brother Feng, you've finally arrived. Hurry up, please come inside. Director, I'm a full 2 hours late. Aren't you going to dock my pay? The director shook his head like a frantic drum. In our factory, there is absolutely no such thing as being late for you. You are now a living ancestor at the level of technical director. Whatever time you step through the gates, that's when our workday begins. Exactly, exactly. The leadership is wise. I felt so satisfied I was practically flying. At 3 a.m. last night, I was just one step away from kneeling. But today, they have truly knelt at my feet. Sitting in the spacious office, watching the high and mighty director humbly serving me tea and water. For a moment, I thought I was daydreaming. He held the blue and white porcelain teacup with both hands. His cautious, clumsy manner was even more reverent than if he were holding a bundle of explosives. Brother Phone, last night you pulled the entire factory back from the brink of disaster. I have already reported this massive achievement to the big boss overnight. The rest of us leaders have had a discussion. From now on, you won't have to touch any of the dirty or heavy work in the workshop. What kind of scheme is this bastard cooking up now? Is he planning to discard me once I'm no longer useful? The director hurried to get close. His face was covered in a fawning smile, looking as if he owed me $8 million in high-interest loans. Your only task every day is to sit in a chair and watch the machines run. As long as you are there to hold down the fort, the entire factory will feel completely at ease. I'll give you the absolute best benefits. It all depends on your word how much it increases. Just name a price, and I won't haggle. I was completely speechless at this shameless, sycophantic nonsense. Seeing that I remained silent, the director thought his offer wasn't enough and continued to pile on more to prove his loyalty. Whenever you want to take a break, I'll approve your paid leave in a heartbeat without even looking. You won't even need to make up an excuse. You can leave whenever you want. If extreme cold weather requires your intervention, overtime pay will be calculated by the minute. Name your price. GU's clock-in and late arrivals. From today on, your clock-in records will be put directly on the white list. Once the work is done, if you want to slip home early, leaving early is not only reasonable, but perfectly legal. If you find sleeping face down on the desk uncomfortable at noon, I'll personally buy you a Simmons mattress and move it straight into the workshop. I bit my lip hard to keep myself from bursting out laughing right then and there. He bit his lip hard to keep from bursting out laughing as the factory director lowered his voice mysteriously. His face was full of a humble, sycophantic expression. Dexter, don't ever think about switching jobs again. Without a god like you, this pathetic factory wouldn't last 24 hours. It would definitely shut down for good. From now on, in this factory, whatever you say will be even more official than my written orders. He took a slow sip of tea and looked up. Then what about my 50,000 yuan year-end bonus? If anyone dares to deduct it, I'll fight them to the death. It definitely won't be deducted. First thing next spring, I'll double it to 100,000. My dear Dexter, you are now the most irreplaceable heart of this entire factory. He remained calm on the surface while calculating privately. That empty promise is something to deal with next year. A dog can't help but crave scraps. Capitalists only learn after being beaten by bloody lessons. Listening to the loud, cheerful hum of machine number 5 outside, the delayed orders were back on track, saving an immeasurable amount of losses and earning the top-tier groveling of the executives. Even that group of high-educated technicians, who used to look down on everyone, now stand at attention the moment they see me from 800 meters away. So what is my biggest wish right now? Without a doubt, it's to endure until the clock hits the end of the shift. Hop on my beloved scooter and head over to Owen's place to easily earn another 2,000 yuan as extra cash. Faced with such an easy way to make money, anyone who doesn't take it is the biggest fool in the world. I continue to show up for work and leave exactly on time every single day. Even if the machines start smoking, I won't stay a single second longer. As for all that empty boasting in the factory director's office, I just treat it as a series of ridiculous compliments from someone who lost his mind from shock. For a worker, if it isn't written in black and white, stamped with an official seal, and deposited into the bank account, it's all just bullshit. With tens of thousands of yuan in thick cash in my pocket, working a dream shift every day without any overtime, casually strolling around to check on a few well-behaved machines, and admiring the humble way everyone in the factory treats me like an ancestor, I couldn't help but sincerely think to myself, this is what it truly means for a worker to finally take control and stand tall. Those once arrogant newcomers now greet me every day, like they've been injected with adrenaline, calling me Dexter, even sweeter than their own fathers. Greetings, Dexter. Dexter, you look so powerful today, you could tear a machine apart with your bare hands. Dexter, please have some water. The workshop director sneaks past my station at least 3 times a day like a thief. His nerves on edge, terrified that I might be in a bad mood. Even if he just clears his throat or coughs in the hallway, the factory director can rush out of the office like a mother hen protecting her chicks. Dexter, why are you coughing? Did you catch a cold? Hurry home and take a couple of days off on the clock. Do you need me to personally drive you to see a specialist? Stop overreacting. My throat is just a bit dry from smoking too much. The factory director immediately turns and bellows at the cleaning lady. Hurry and make the director a cup of brown sugar ginger tea. Make sure the ginger slices are thick. I am completely defeated by this surreal behavior. This absurd, dramatic scene. If we had gone back just 1 month, even with all the courage in the world, I wouldn't have been able to dream it up. As for now, enjoying this imperial-level treatment has become as natural as drinking water. Sometimes, a dangerous thought even crosses my mind. It feels like I could even be more reckless and boss them around. As for promotions and raises, the factory director is desperate to drop hints to me every single day. Dexter, as soon as the new year is over, I'll raise your salary immediately. How much of a raise is entirely up to you. As long as you're willing to give the word. I'll personally oversee the finance department to get special approval for you. That meager salary you were getting before was an insult to your god-tier skills. We must use real money to reflect the massive value of a top-tier talent. Every time I heard this empty talk, I just gave a meaningful smirk. The empty promises can wait until after the new year. I have plenty of confidence right now. I don't need that money. In reality, I see right through him. He'll have to pay up, even if it costs him dearly. If I just walked away, this broken factory would turn into a pile of scrap metal in minutes. After living nearly 40 years and being pushed around by society for so long, I have finally truly understood the ultimate rule of the workplace. As long as you hold incomparable, core technology in your hands, even the highest authority will have to submit to me. It feels amazing.